Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. They challenged Earth and regretted humanity's response. The Valky scout ships emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, their sleek obsidian hulls absorbing rather than reflecting the distant sunlight. Commander Towin studied the blue planet through the fleet's long-range sensors and nodded to himself. Life-bearing world, moderate technology, abundant resources, he noted dispassionately in his report. Recommend standard acquisition protocol. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Jun, scrolled through the preliminary data. Their defenses appear primitive, mostly atmospheric, no significant orbital infrastructure. Perfect. Taiwan replied, prepare the diplomatic transmission. Give them our standard terms. The Valky ships maintained their position just beyond Mars orbit. This was routine for them. They had done this hundreds of times across dozens of star systems. Find a developing world, assess its resources, issue demands, and begin harvesting. Resistance was rare once a species understood the power of the Valkyrie. Taiwan stood on the command deck of his ship, the Night Shadow. The vessel was over 3 kilometers long, a masterpiece of Valky engineering that had participated in 17 planetary acquisitions. The commander felt a sense of pride as he watched his crew work with practiced efficiency. This would be another simple operation. Message prepared, Commander, said Communications Officer Sanho from his station. Shall I transmit on all Earth frequencies? Proceed, Towin ordered. He watched as the ultimatum was sent toward the blue planet. For a moment, he wondered what these humans would be like. Not that it mattered much. They would either serve or perish like all the others. The message traveled across the void, reaching Earth in minutes. It was intercepted by multiple listening stations around the planet, and within an hour, the United Earth Defense Force headquarters beneath Mount Fuji was buzzing with activity. Major Hanbin stood rigid as technicians worked to translate and verify the alien message. At 46 years old, he had spent his entire career preparing for this moment, though many had doubted it would ever come. His weathered face showed no emotion as the translation appeared on the main screen. Alert the Security Council, he ordered a junior officer. Priority Alpha. Within 3 hours, the world's most powerful leaders had assembled in the underground war room. They sat around a circular table, faces illuminated by the blue glow of display screens showing the alien vessels. How many ships? Asked Defense Minister Wang Shik. We've identified 8 vessels in the main group, Hanbin replied, bringing up thermal imagery on the main display. Based on their energy signatures, they're massive, each one several times larger than our biggest aircraft carriers. President Kim entered the room, and everyone stood. At 52, she had led the United Earth Alliance for just 7 months. This crisis would define her presidency and possibly humanity's future. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple style, and her eyes revealed a sharp intelligence that had taken her from a small fishing village to global leadership. What do we know about them? She asked without preamble. They call themselves the Valky, Hanbin said. Our translators are still working on the language, but the message is clear enough. He played the translation on the main screen, and the room fell silent as the aliens' demands were laid bare. People of Earth, the translated message began. Your planet has been selected for resource acquisition by the Valkyrie Federation. You will surrender all mineral, biological, and water resources. Compliance will allow your species limited autonomy. Resistance will result in planetary sterilization. You have 72 hours to respond. Silence hung in the air as the implications sank in. The Chinese premier was the first to speak. Can we fight them? What are our options? Hanbin shared a meaningful look with President Kim before answering. Conventional weapons would be ineffective against their technology level, based on our readings. Then we must negotiate, said the European Union representative. Perhaps we can offer limited resources in exchange for... No, President Kim said firmly, cutting off the discussion. She leaned forward, her expression resolute. They've made a terrible miscalculation. The room quieted as all eyes turned to her. It's time, she said to Hanbin. Activate Phoenix Protocol. A ripple of surprise moved through the room. Most of the leaders present had been briefed on Phoenix only in theoretical terms. Few believed it actually existed. Madam President, the Russian president said carefully, Phoenix is real. She nodded. It has been operational for 15 years. Hanbin moved to a special console and placed his palm on a scanner. A hidden panel slid open, revealing a series of biometric authentication devices. President Kim joined him, placing her hand on a second scanner while looking into a retinal reader. Phoenix Protocol Authentication, a computer voice announced. Secondary authorization required. 3 other military leaders from different nations stepped forward, adding their authentication to the system. Phoenix Protocol activated, the computer confirmed, awaiting executive command. Back on the Night Shadow, Taiwan received word that the humans were responding. He allowed himself a small smile. Put it on the main screen, he ordered. Let's see how quickly they surrender. The face that appeared was not what he expected. Instead of fear, the human leader showed calm determination. I am President Kim of the United Earth Alliance, she began. We have received your demands. Taiwan waited for the inevitable plea for mercy or time. We will not surrender our planet or our resources, she continued. You have gravely underestimated humanity. We are not defenseless and we are not afraid. Lieutenant Jun looked up from his station in surprise. Commander, we're detecting energy signatures from Earth. They're activating something. Taiwan frowned. This wasn't following the usual pattern. Your 72-hour deadline is rejected, President Kim said. Instead, we offer you one chance to leave our solar system peacefully. You have 24 hours to depart. After that, we will defend ourselves with full force. The transmission ended, leaving Taiwan momentarily speechless. Then he laughed. They think they can threaten us, prepare a response. Tell them we'll begin the cleansing immediately as a demonstration of our power. But as he gave the order, warning signals began blaring across the command deck. Commander, Lieutenant Jun called out, his voice tense. Multiple energy signatures activating across Earth's orbit. They were hidden somehow. Our scans didn't detect them until now. Taiwan moved quickly to the tactical display. Impossible. All around the planet, previously invisible defense platforms were coming online. From Earth's surface, advanced missile systems were targeting his fleet with precision that shouldn't have been possible for a species at this development stage. How did we miss this? He demanded. Full defensive protocols. As the Valky fleet scrambled to respond, President Kim stood in the command center, watching as humanity revealed its hidden strength. The Phoenix Protocol, developed in secret for decades, was now humanity's shield against the stars. Send the second message, she ordered Hanbin. Let them understand exactly what they're facing. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Song Man entered final authorization codes as emergency lights bathed the command center in red. For 30 years, the Phoenix Protocol had been humanity's most closely guarded secret, a defense system built by a unified Earth following a classified first contact incident decades earlier. All Phoenix platforms activating, announced Dr. Song Men. Quantum shields at full capacity, AI defense matrix online. The underwater facility known as Deep Haven hummed with activity. Located 5 kilometers beneath the ocean's surface, it had been constructed in total secrecy. Only a handful of people from each major nation knew of its existence. The command center was a marvel of human engineering, a perfect circle with workstations arranged like spokes of a wheel, all facing the central holographic display that currently showed the position of the Valky ships. Dr. Men was 63 years old with silver-streaked black hair and hands that moved across the controls with practiced confidence. She had been part of the Phoenix program since its beginning, one of the few who had survived the original contact that humanity had kept hidden from the public. All systems report ready, called out her assistant, Dr. Num. Quantum linking stable across all platforms. Songmen nodded and touched the communication panel. Deep Haven to Global Command, Phoenix is awake. I repeat, Phoenix is awake. Around the world, seemingly ordinary satellites began to change. Communications arrays unfolded to reveal advanced weapon systems. Weather monitoring platforms shifted, revealing sensor arrays far beyond what humanity was thought to possess. In Earth's orbit, hundreds of stealth platforms, invisible until now, powered up their systems. On military bases across the planet, soldiers watched in amazement as hidden bunkers opened to reveal technology they never knew existed. Massive rail guns extended from mountain hideaways. Missile silos, thought to be decommissioned decades ago, opened to reveal entirely new weapons systems. And in the oceans, the true power of Phoenix emerged. Massive underwater platforms rose slightly from their hiding places on the seabed. Each was the size of a small city, equipped with energy projection systems reverse-engineered from technology not of this Earth. Defense grid at 100%, reported Systems Manager Du, his fingers dancing across the holographic controls as thousands of status reports flowed into Deep Haven. All platforms report ready. Dr. Song Men took a deep breath. 30 years of preparation, of secrecy, of working in the shadows, all for this moment. Activate quantum shields. An invisible dome of energy began to form around the planet. It wasn't a solid barrier, but rather a complex web of quantum fields designed to absorb and redirect energy. The technology had come at great cost, developed from the wreckage of the ship that had crashed in the Arctic 3 decades ago. Above them, the Valky attack fleet moved into position. Commander Taiwan had decided to make an example of Earth, no more waiting for their response. His 8 massive ships formed an attack pattern. Weapons systems charging, he ordered. Target their largest population centers, show them the price of defiance. Lieutenant Jun hesitated for just a moment before entering the targeting commands. Something about this didn't feel right. The human confidence was unexpected, but orders were orders. Targeting complete, he announced. Weapons at full charge. Taiwan allowed himself a small smile. Fire. Brilliant beams of energy lanced from the Valky ships toward Earth. Each beam carried enough power to level a major city. The vessels had performed this task on a dozen worlds before. The overwhelming show of force usually ended resistance immediately. But something unexpected happened. As the energy beams hit Earth's atmosphere, they seemed to bend, distort, and then dissipate entirely, absorbed by an invisible shield that shouldn't have existed. What just happened? Taiwan demanded, rising from his command chair. Lieutenant Jun frantically checked his instruments. Unknown, Commander. The weapons appeared to hit some kind of energy field. Impossible, they don't have that technology. Fire again, all weapons. The Valkyrie ships unleashed their full arsenal, only to watch again as the devastating energy was harmlessly absorbed. In Deep Haven, Dr. Song Man watched the attack on the main display. Shield performance operating at 40% capacity, reported Dr. Num with a note of pride in his voice. The quantum absorption is working perfectly. Energy stores are filling rapidly. Song Man nodded. They're giving us exactly what we need. Prepare countermeasures. Deep in space, Commander Towin was about to order a third volley when warning alarms blared across the bridge. Energy signatures detected, shouted the sensor officer. Multiple sources all around the planet. Taiwan barely had time to process this information before 3 of his outer ships exploded simultaneously, struck by weapons that hadn't appeared on any scan. The blasts were precise, targeting propulsion and weapon systems while avoiding crew quarters. Impossible, Commander Taiwan whispered as he watched the destruction, his 3 most powerful ships reduced to drifting hulks in seconds. Commander, we're being targeted, Lieutenant Jun called out. I'm detecting energy buildup from multiple points on the planet's surface and in orbit. Taiwan stared at the viewscreen in disbelief. How could this primitive species possess such technology? Evasive maneuvers, full defensive screens. But it was too late. Precise energy beams lanced through space, striking the remaining Valky ships with surgical accuracy. They didn't destroy the vessels completely, just disabled their primary weapons and propulsion systems. On Earth, in the main Defense Command Center beneath Mount Fuji, Major Hanbin watched the engagement unfold with calm detachment. The holographic display showed the status of all Phoenix platforms and the damaged Valky ships. "First phase complete," reported a tactical officer. 5 enemy vessels disabled, 3 maintaining position. Hanbin nodded. "Return fire, defensive protocols only." This had been the plan all along: demonstrate strength without unnecessary destruction. Humanity had learned from that first contact that there were powers in the galaxy that could not be defeated through aggression alone. Intelligence, preparation, and restraint would be their greatest weapons. In Deep Haven, Dr. Song Man monitored the battle with mixed emotions. The Phoenix Protocol was working perfectly, the result of 30 years of unified human effort, built in secret while nations pretended to squabble over petty differences in public. But she also felt a deep sadness. This day marked humanity's official entry into a larger, more dangerous universe. "The Valky are attempting to regroup," reported Dr. Num. "Their remaining ships are falling back to a defensive position." Dr. Songman nodded. "As expected, prepare the second phase message." On the crippled Night Shadow, Commander Taiwan struggled to comprehend what had happened. 5 of his ships were disabled, their crews alive but their weapons and engines destroyed with precision that spoke of technology far beyond what Earth should possess. "Status report," he demanded. Lieutenant Jun looked up from his damaged console, his face illuminated by emergency lights. "Main power offline, weapon systems destroyed, engines non-functional, communications limited to short range only." "How?" Taiwan whispered. "How did they do this?" As if in answer to his question, all remaining systems on the bridge suddenly activated, displaying the face of Major Hanbin. "Valky Command," the human said calmly. "Your attack has failed, your ships are disabled, but your crews are unharmed. This was a choice. We could have destroyed you completely, but that is not our way." Taiwan stared at the screen, speechless for perhaps the first time in his military career. "You have much to learn about humanity," Major Hanbin continued. "We suggest you begin with this lesson: never threaten a species you don't fully understand." The surviving Valky ships retreated to a safe distance. Commander Taiwan was preparing a report to the High Command when all communication systems across his fleet suddenly activated. A human woman appeared on every screen. "I am President Kim of the United Earth Alliance. Your attack has been repelled with minimal effort on our part. This was not luck. We have studied your kind for decades." She paused, allowing the translation to catch up. "We know the quantum resonance frequency of your ship shields. We know your homeworld coordinates, all 7 of them, including your hidden colony on what you call Nexus 9. Taiwan felt his blood cool. Nexus 9 was a military installation known only to the highest levels of Valky Command. "We have no desire for war," President Kim continued. "But should you attack again, we will not limit ourselves to defense. This is your only warning." The transmission ended, leaving Commander Taiwan staring at a blank screen. The bridge of the Night Shadow was quiet except for the occasional spark from damaged systems. Emergency lighting cast long shadows across the faces of his crew. They looked to him for explanation, for guidance, but for once, the veteran commander had none to give. "How did they access our communications?" Lieutenant Jun finally asked, breaking the silence. "And how do they know about Nexus 9? Taiwan didn't answer immediately. His mind raced through possibilities, each more disturbing than the last. Nexus 9 was the Valkyrie's most secret military research facility. Its location was known only to the High Command and a handful of fleet commanders like himself. Even mentioning its name on an unsecured channel was grounds for execution. "Scan our systems," he finally ordered. "Check for infiltration, data breaches, anything unusual." As his crew hurried to obey, Taiwan moved to the tactical station. The display showed his crippled fleet: 5 ships with major systems damage, 3 including his own with limited functionality. What should have been an easy conquest had turned into the worst defeat in his 40 years of service. "Commander," called the communications officer. "High Command is requesting an update. They want to know why we haven't reported success yet." Taiwan almost laughed. How could he explain this? The Valky had conquered 67 worlds across 12 star systems. They had never encountered a species that could resist their initial attack, let alone one that could disable their ships with such precision. "Tell them," he began, then paused. "Tell them we've encountered unexpected resistance and are gathering data before proceeding." That would buy him time to think. He needed to understand what had happened before facing the High Command's wrath. On Earth, President Kim stepped away from the transmission terminal in the Mount Fuji Command Center. Her face showed no emotion, but inside her heart pounded. The warning had been delivered. Now they would see if it worked. "Do you think they'll listen?" asked Major Han Bin, who stood nearby. President Kim considered the question. "They have to process what just happened. Their worldview has been shattered. They thought us primitive, easy prey. Now they know differently." Han Bin nodded. "And mentioning Nexus 9 was necessary," the president finished. "They need to understand we know far more about them than they realized. Fear can be a powerful motivator for peace." She turned to a communications officer. "Connect me to Deep Haven." Within moments, Dr. Song Men's face appeared on the screen. The underwater facility was still on high alert, its systems monitoring the damaged Valky fleet. "Dr. Song Man, what's the status of our defenses?" "All systems functioning at optimal levels, Madam President," Song Man replied. "The quantum shields absorbed enough energy from their attack to remain fully powered for 3 months. The AI defense matrix has calculated 17 potential counterattack scenarios and prepared responses for each. And our special insurance policy." Dr. Song Men's expression grew serious. "Probe 1 is in position near the Valky homeworld. It remains undetected. If needed, we can activate it at any time." President Kim nodded. "Let's hope it doesn't come to that." Back on the Night Shadow, Commander Taiwan received troubling news from his system's analysts. "Commander," reported the chief analyst, "we found something in our database. It appears our systems were accessed remotely before we even entered the solar system." "How is that possible?" Taiwan demanded. "Unknown, sir, but the access signature is unlike anything I've seen before. It bypassed all our security protocols as if they weren't even there." The implications were staggering. If the humans could access Valky systems so easily, what else could they do? Could they already have infiltrated the High Command itself? Lieutenant Jun approached cautiously. "Commander, we've completed our analysis of their defense system. It's not like anything in our records." "Explain," Taiwan said, his voice tight. "The quantum shields they used shouldn't be possible for a species at their development stage. And the weapons they fired at us, they were precisely tuned to our shield frequencies. That knowledge would require years of study." "Years they shouldn't have had," Taiwan finished. A terrible suspicion began to form in his mind. "Access the classified records. Look for any unusual incidents in this sector over the last 50 years. While they waited for the results, Taiwan stared at the image of Earth on his view screen. Such a blue world, seemingly so vulnerable. How had they prepared so thoroughly? How had they known the Valkyrie were coming? "Sir," called the records officer a few minutes later, "I found something. 30 Earth years ago, a Valky scout ship went missing in this sector. It was classified as lost in a stellar phenomenon, but—" "But what?" Taiwan prompted. "But the final transmission contained unusual data. The ship reported detecting advanced energy signatures from the third planet before contact was lost." Taiwan closed his eyes as understanding dawned. "They've had one of our ships for 30 years. They've been studying our technology, our communications, our weaknesses." "Sir," Lieutenant Jun said hesitantly, "if that's true, then they may know far more than just Nexus 9. They could know our entire fleet deployment, our defense codes, maybe even—" "Enough," Taiwan cut him off. The situation was worse than he had imagined. If the humans had successfully reverse-engineered Valky technology from a scout ship, they were far more resourceful than any species the Valky had encountered before. A decision had to be made. The standard Valky protocol would be to call for reinforcements, to bring overwhelming force against this unexpected resistance. But something told Taiwan that would be a mistake. "Prepare a message to High Command," he ordered. "Mark it highest priority encrypted channel." As his communications officer prepared the transmission, Taiwan considered his words carefully. His career, perhaps even his life, would depend on how he explained this disaster. "High Command," he began when the channel was ready. "We have encountered a situation requiring immediate diplomatic intervention. The species on the third planet, humans, possess technology far beyond our initial assessment. They have demonstrated the ability to neutralize our weapons and disable our ships with precision." He paused, then added the most difficult part. "They have knowledge of our secure locations, including Nexus 9. Evidence suggests they recovered and studied one of our scout ships lost in this sector 30 years ago. I recommend immediate cessation of hostile actions and establishment of diplomatic contact." After sending the message, Taiwan returned to the bridge's observation window and looked out at Earth. In all his years of conquest, he had never recommended diplomacy instead of force. But then, he had never encountered a species like humans before. On Earth, President Kim received word that the Valky fleet was holding position, neither advancing nor retreating. "They're considering their options," Major Hanbin observed. "Yes," the president agreed, "and wondering how much we really know." She turned to her advisors. "The next few hours will determine whether we have peace or war, maintain defense readiness but make no aggressive moves." As both sides waited in the darkness of space, humanity's future hung in the balance, protected not by luck but by 30 years of careful preparation for this very day. The Valky High Command dismissed Earth's warning as a bluff. They dispatched their third battle group, 50 warships under Admiral Doan, undefeated in 17 planetary conquests. "We will crush this insolence," he announced as his fleet prepared to jump. Admiral Duhan stood on the bridge of the Eternal Glory, the largest battleship in the Valky fleet. At 7 kilometers long, it dwarfed even Commander Taiwan's vessels. Duhan was tall even for a Valkyrie, with a proudly scarred face that told the story of battles won across multiple star systems. "Commander Taiwan has grown weak," he told his officers as they prepared for hyperspace jump. "To be defeated by primitives? Unthinkable. His report about their advanced technology must be an attempt to cover his own failure." The High Command had shared the same opinion. Though Taiwan's report contained disturbing details, particularly the mention of Nexus 9, they believed the humans were bluffing. No developing world could possibly defeat a Valky attack force. The evidence suggested Taiwan had simply made a tactical error. "Admiral," reported his second-in-command, "all 50 ships report ready. Jump coordinates locked on Earth's solar system."